What's up guys, welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
Huh? That theory is absurd. Even if they could recreate him, it would only be a replica body. And while they might replicate his abilities, they wouldn't have his soul, which is crucial.
Guy chimed in, expressing a similar opinion to mine.
I can't say for sure. It's just that we can't dismiss the chance that the lost soul could return if they have a perfected body.
Well, I suppose. Veldora is a distinct spiritual entity, so I don't believe his soul was dispersed like Rudra's. You're right, it could be possible.
That theory still doesn't quite add up.
There's no need for a comeback. If Veldora truly wishes to return, he should be capable of regenerating his body on his own.
Exactly. Seal-san denied it, so I was doubtful of the enemy's plan. I think it will probably fail anyway, so we could just ignore it, right?
In that case, perhaps the enemy's objective is targeting Veldora.
Everyone froze at the mention of Veldora. Veldora's clueless muttering filled the quiet hall. He seemed unaware but was taking it lightly. The focus should be on what Rimuru had brought up.
Oops, that's a blind spot. They tried to take over Veldora once before but didn't take the dragon factor then.
It seems Michael only cares about the possibility, not the success rate. So, whether Veldora gets resurrected or not, Veldora's dragon factor could be at risk. I hadn't considered the scenario where Velzard could be taken over, so I feel pretty behind. Milam chimed in, saying,
Abra mentioned that Emperor Rudra, in other words Michael, took over Velgrin's dragon factor. Now that Velzard is controlled, Veldora is the last one standing.
Wait, hold on. What do you mean?
Guy asked in disbelief.
Are you saying Velzard will lose her dragon factor too?
I simply voiced my thoughts.
Doesn't that make sense?
Guy looked visibly concerned.
Then Velzard might not be safe. She can hold her own against me, but she could vanish?
I'm not so sure. When Velgrind had one of her parallel existences absorbed, it was probably less than 10% of her magicules, but it was enough for Michael.
Guy seemed to calm down after this explanation.
Yeah, you're right. True dragons have immense power, so they're not easy to absorb.
I nodded in agreement. During that time, Velgrind had taken quite a hit from Carrera's judgment, but she still had a good amount of power left. Michael absorbed Velgrind's power using Yuki's skill, Still Life, but he couldn't fully absorb it. I had a hunch as to why Michael decided to banish Velgrind from this world.
It's not just about strength and factors being taken away, but also skills. Removing them would disrupt the angelic skill system. If he's not careful, he might face a counterattack.
That's why Michael wanted to weaken Velzard, take away her factor, and banish her.
I agree.
I can be quite brilliant at times too.
But why take away their powers? Wouldn't it be smarter to use them as pawns instead of banishing them after using?
That makes sense too. Michael's skill can override a user's skills. There's no need to take them away. Seal-san and I were on the same page, so I thought my reasoning was spot on.
Do you think it's necessary for Veldora to revive by gathering all the skills in Michael's possession?
De Gruel chimed in, leaving me in contemplation.
Are you okay with ignoring demonic and other derived skills?
Yes. Perhaps he thinks only Veldora's original pure skills hold value.
Rimuru added their input this time. Just by listening to our discussion, we reached a deep conclusion.
Gathering pure skills to recreate the omnipotent being that created all skills. It may sound far-fetched, but if that's the case, Leon's presence makes it impossible to gather all skills.
Guy chuckled confidently, but it's not as simple as that. If that line of thinking was correct, we would have already thwarted Michael's strategic goal by now. Because, you see? I, or more accurately Seal-san, had already assimilated Wisdom King Raphael, Covenant King Uriel, and even Charity King Regule. Seal-san reassured my troubled self.
Velgrind, who lost the dragon factor, was fading away even without the space-time transfer. The master released the main body before her disappearance, which probably reabsorbed all her energy.
So, why exactly did he bother banishing her?
He might have feared a revival. Removing the dragon factor wouldn't erase her soul or heart. Perhaps he banished her to avoid the resurrected Velgrind seeking revenge on him.
If we can't reach a definite conclusion, it means we're not fully sure. That's probably why Seal-san has been avoiding discussing this topic. She's a perfectionist but has been a great advisor. I wonder if she's worried about the consequences if Velgrind were to return without losing her abilities.
Indeed, even if her disappearance was certain, she might break free from control. If that happened,
it could provoke Velgrind, still holding memories of being controlled. She might realize she was manipulated by the skill, abandon Charity King Regule, gain freedom, and confront Michael again. Ah, so banishment was the right call after all? Keeping the useful skills makes sense if there's no one else to use them. If that's the case, then the discussion about reclaiming skills might be off base.
Can I recreate a skill multiple times if I've made it before?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking too. I was glad to see Seal-san's confidence improving. Now that I had gathered my thoughts, I decided to join the conversation again.
I think gathering skills is important, but it doesn't relate to Veldonava's revival, right? We should focus on the dragon factor.
Are you trying to change the subject?
De Gruel glanced at me skeptically. He seemed tired of inconclusive topics, a feeling I could relate to. Meetings without conclusions are quite pointless, don't you think? That's why I decided to wrap things up quickly.
Nope, I'm pretty certain. Michael never mentioned the skills before, so it seems like an afterthought.
Alright, go on.
I didn't really need Rumina's approval anyways. Not sure why she was acting so self-important, but I felt it was best to end the debate rather than dwell on it here. This wasn't an escape plan, definitely not. So, I reached a decision.
If the skills are truly crucial, I know of someone other than Leon who possesses one. Let's ignore the skills and focus on keeping Veldora away from our foes.
Seems like you're confident.
Of course, I might have confused you earlier by mentioning my lost skills, but no need to worry about that.
When I mentioned that, Guy gazed at me thoughtfully.
Ah, it's frustrating not knowing why they took Velgrin's skill. Fine then, I'll trust you.
Guy turned out to be more understanding than expected. We've settled on a plan for now. It might seem like we're just circling back to our earlier conclusion, but we're not letting that bother us.
So, we should be cautious about Velzard and Veldora meeting. Counting on you, Rimuru.
That's what Guy said. It might seem like he's trying to shift the responsibility on me, but it'll take a while to get into the details, so I'll just agree. Feeling fed up with the discussions, I was inclined to let things slide. And then,
I knew it. I held a very important role, didn't I?
Veldora's nonchalant remarks in such a serious discussion annoyed me. Currently, we were trailing behind. We have to acknowledge that, but we can make up for it. Veldora had no involvement with the angelic system and had already broken free from the control of the Regalia Dominion. The enemy must have known this, so their next move was likely to be direct. In that case, it could escalate into a full-blown war, so I think the top priority should be to unite the angelic owners first. If it were up to me, I would proceed with caution, but I was unsure of what strategy Michael would lean towards. But there was no need to rush. It was clear that the enemy's main target was Veldora, so he could take measures to prevent that. In the worst-case scenario, it might be necessary to disable Leon's control circuit, although I was hesitant to do so.
Well, best of luck to you. If anything comes up, reach out to me immediately.
With Guy's parting words, the Walpurgis event, which had lacked cooperation and enthusiasm, finally ended.
Volume 18 Interlude. The Heavenly Emperor and the Former Hero.
What's up with you today, Leon?
The inquiry came from Elmesia El Rusarian, the stunning Heavenly Emperor of Sorcerer's Dynasty Sarian. Naturally, it was directed at Demon Lord Leon Cromwell himself. Instead of returning to his own country after Walpurgis, Leon had detoured to Sarian.
Guy is supposed to visit my nation, so my time is limited. Let's skip the pleasantries and get to the point.
You're quite impatient, but if that's the case, then so be it.
The fact that Leon could see Elmesia without an appointment showed how well he was regarded, and he didn't seem concerned about inconveniencing Elmesia, which was surprising to those unaware of their relationship. The history between the two traced back to when Leon was neither a demon lord nor a chosen hero. He had traveled the world in search of Chloe and had once stopped in Sarian. There, he met Elmesia's mother, Sylvia Elru, a high elf renowned as a brilliant researcher who proposed magic science theory. However, she also had a hidden side as a high elf created by the divine ancestor, Twilight Valentine, the Vampire King. Sylvia's strength was undeniable. If only she had cooperated, her husband, Elmesia's father, might still be alive today. But that scenario was nothing more than wishful thinking, all because Elmesia was in Sylvia's womb at that time. Taking Leon under her wing, Sylvia taught him the ways of swordplay and magic. It was only natural that Leon grew stronger under her tutelage. Consequently, Leon and Elmesia developed a bond, earning them the privilege to visit each other, a privilege typically reserved for family and close friends. Seeking Elmesia's permission, Leon spoke up.
You've been keeping tabs on things, right?
Acknowledging the fact without hesitation, Elmesia replied.
Of course.
Do you know what happened with Demon Lord Rimuru and the Eastern Empire?
Leon inquired.
I was well informed about the Primordial's actions. I even dropped by briefly after the victory celebration.
Elmesia shared.
And what about the subsequent battle?
Leon pressed further. Referring to the conflict involving Yuki, Elmesia said.
I heard about your fight with an Empire insider, but the details were incomplete.
Nodding in understanding, Leon shared the information while observing Elmesia's reactions.
During that time, there was a lot going on. From Velgrin's appearance to Veldora being taken control of, it was a dire situation. But Rimuru emerged victorious in the end.
Surprised, Elmesia exclaimed.
Really?
Seeing her genuine shock, Leon decided to give her a concise summary of what transpired at Walpurgis, holding back no details. He knew Elmesia couldn't communicate with the other party, so it was important to fill her in on the whole story.
I understand now, so that's why Rimuru had difficulty explaining everything.
Elmesia concluded. Even though he had declared victory, the fact that Rimuru had defeated Velgrind was truly astonishing. Elmesia had always known Rimuru was powerful, but she never imagined he could surpass her strength and tame the primordials.
He's surpassed even Mother's strength. No wonder he was able to command the primordials.
Elmesia realized. Velgrind and Veldora were freed from control, defying the odds. Even though Michael and the others managed to escape, it was truly a great victory.
Just so I'm clear, you're not trying to deceive me, right?
I have no reason to lie. I heard the story directly from him, so I can't guarantee its accuracy.
Leon-kun seems to have more faith in Demon Lord Rimuru than I expected.
How would you react if you heard Emperor Rudra had been overtaken by his own skill and now called himself Michael? Well, if I was lying, I'd come up with a much better story.
He reassured her.
It was so outrageous, I ended up believing it.
Oh my.
Elmesia chuckled.
Isn't this an unusual reaction from the usually skeptical Leon-kun?
Don't be ridiculous. Rimuru is sly, but he's not one to fabricate stories to make himself look good. If anything, he'd downplay himself.
Is he selling himself short? If that's what you're implying, then I agree.
Elmesia thought that slime was truly something. Even having multiple subservient primordials wasn't a big deal for him. It must have been the same in this case. She knew Rimuru and the others had emerged victorious, but aside from a brief, "we won," she hadn't been briefed in detail.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Jason Martin, Zach Rosen, Jerry Sladek, Normal Defate, Joshua Andrade, L, Gary Miles, Dragon Spawn 666, J Rule, Leiron Sangkap, Lucas Guet, Jason Martin, Ekotski. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.